There is a disgusting theme permeating this election cycle. Supposedly, the lack of people of color being represented in the debates is a problem. Democrats, including Democrats that dropped out of the race like Kamala, locked them up Harris, and corporate Booker, are aghast, stating that the lack of diversity is indicative of the racism and even sexism when it comes to Kamala Harris in America. They, of course, blame this imaginary racism on Donald Trump. Democrats, as always, get to insult voters while somehow taking the moral high ground. Kamala Harris stated that Americans were not ready to see a black woman as president. She immediately called Americans that did not support her racist and sexist. There was no consideration given to the fact that her time as a prosecutor would not help with black men who have a difficult time with our justice system. Kamala Harris cared more about locking people up than ensuring that justice was served. Tulsi Gabbard rightfully pointed out her dubious record that saw her allow an innocent man to languish in prison rather than admit she made a mistake. On her watch, the conviction of hundreds of people because of prosecutorial misconduct was overturned. She, of course, never took the blame, but instead tried to blame her staff. So it should be no shock that she was not well received by blacks or people in general. She she has this air of dishonesty about her that people picked up on. Corporate Booker was no better. He's a bought and paid for corporate shell that sold out the American people when he voted against a bill to lower prescription drug costs. He, of course, claimed that it wasn't enough regulations on the safety of the drugs being received, which would be understandable if we were getting drugs from some third world nation. But these drugs was coming from Canada, so safe to assume they would not be selling us fake or dangerous drugs. Julian Castro, who dropped out of the race, also pointed out the lack of diversity in the remaining candidates. Democrats' whole diversity is our strength model is the only reason they have people of color running for office for their party. Democrats deal in identity politics and the smearing of opponents to these individuals they run against as racist. Pick any Democratic person of color, especially the women, and I guarantee their Republican opponent during the race or any time that they have any disagreement with them will be called a bigot in some way. Democrats don't just stop with Republicans when it comes to smearing. They also smear the voters, the American people, the same people they work for. They will call them racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, anti Semitic, or whatever it takes to scare you into voting for the Democratic Party. Even though I don't agree with or understand why blacks are supporting Joe Biden, that is their choice. Blacks' right to vote doesn't mean just to black candidates. Our only black president that we ever had lied to our face and filled us with hope and then robbed the black community of its wealth. Which is another reason why I'm baffled that Biden gets black support because he was part of that regime. Unless Biden's black support is fiction of the fake news media, I am at a loss to explain his appeal to blacks. But the mostly older, they come from mostly older, stubborn fools. But the point is, Americans not supporting people of color is not indicative of any prejudice. For Democrats to make that assertion is appalling, but sadly not surprising. Racism can't die because Democrats won't allow it. They use the race card every chance they get. Every chance they get. Because to this day, it's their most effective weapon. Whomever the Democratic nominee turns out to be, he will be using the race card. Do any of us believe that the general election in 2020 will be based on issues? Or do you think, like it will be, that it will be about President Trump being a racist and a sexist? Every presidential election of my lifetime, the Republican candidate, without exception, has been portrayed as a racist by the fake news and the Democrats. If Trump is a racist, I'll take his brand of racism where black wealth is on the rise, unemployment for blacks, Hispanics, Asian, and women are at historic lows, and most importantly, wages for the lowest wage earners are rising faster than the top wage earners. I'll take that any day over the Democrats that literally keep us in poverty. What policies of the Democrats ever lift people from poverty? Name one Democratic policy that attacks poverty. What Democrats' policies do is just foster it, increases the amount of people in poverty. Our Democratic, our only black Democratic president, Barack Obama, thought it was an accomplishment that he had more people on food stamps. That was an accomplishment for him. Do you understand that they only care about poverty? If you think that is an accomplishment to have more people on welfare, how is more people on welfare an accomplishment? That's a disgrace. That means that you're not doing your job. Trump is getting people off of welfare. That is what you're supposed to do. That is how you lift people out of poverty. When less of them is on welfare, when more of them is working, because no matter what the welfare is that you're getting, you will definitely not receive more than if you had a fucking job. A job. Minimum wage is 10 times better than welfare payments. Welfare is poverty. Let's not be stupid. Let's not mix this shit up. Welfare is poverty. If you have a president that is proud of increasing the amount of people on welfare, they are saying that they agree with poverty, increasing poverty. So Barack Obama saw welfare, increasing the amount of people, as a good thing. That means he saw increasing the amount of people in poverty as a good thing. I mentioned this before with the whole housing crisis that he helped make worse, that he made worse. When the government sued these banks for their shady business practices that they were doing, when they were robbing the poorest Americans, what did Barack Obama do? Did he help those people? No. Did he help them with to fix their loans, to help them get back their homes that they lost? No. He kept the money for the government. The government kept that money. He said, fuck the people. Fuck the people was his answer. And that's the answer for all the Democrats. Fuck the people. The Democrats do not care about you. They do not care about you. It's always been about power. How can't y'all see that? It's always been about power. Never nothing else. Democrats do nothing else. Nothing. And also they like to be divisive. They like to cause divisions. Think about anything dealing with race, anything that you were told that was racist or xenophobic. I guarantee it came from a Democrat or the liberal news that got you the same thing. You could watch the same program. You can watch the same debate. You could watch the same news conference and not feel a hint of racism. But turn on that news channel, you turn on CNN, you turn on MSNBC, you turn on ABC, and there you go, having the fake news correspondents or a fucking Democrat telling you how the same thing you just watched was racist. Take for Trump, for example, telling the black people, what do you got to lose? What the fuck is racist about him telling the black people, what do you got to lose? You've been voting Democrats for what, decades? 50, 60 years you've been voting Democrat exclusively. And got nothing to show for it. So what would you have to fucking lose for trying Donald Trump? And then you got these fake ass, coon ass niggers who sit up there and demonize anybody that wants to support Trump. That wants to. How the hell could you do anything? You have the president's ear. Kanye West had the president's ear. His wife had the president's ear. Why the fuck wouldn't you use it? Who does that? Who said, oh, he's racist, so I'm not going to deal with him? These are the same people who supported Martin Luther King and the rest of them Negroes that sat up there with Lyndon B. Johnson as he signed the Civil Rights Bill when he still called them niggers to their faces. Unlike Trump, Trump has never been caught saying the word nigger. Lyndon B. Johnson damn sure had. Disrespected people to their face. Black men to their face. To their face. Call them nigger to their face. And not one person called Martin Luther King a coon. No one laughed, made jokes about him being right there when he signed the bill. He got one of the pens. He was proud of that. And I find nothing wrong with it because sometimes even if he was a racist, sometimes you have to work with what you have. Sad to say, but this is the world we did live in. So if a known racist, it was not a problem because it was beneficial to the black people to work with a known racist like Lyndon B. Johnson. How the hell could you demonize people for working with Trump who has not been proven, unlike Lyndon B. Johnson, of being a racist? Y'all throw all types of accusations at him. Oh, the white supremacists like him. White supremacists is not to say that there's not some that may back him. But in the large part, he's against what they say. He has a son-in-law that's Jewish. His daughter is Jewish. If you do not know it, if you know anything about white supremacy, what they hate more than niggers is Jews. All the stuff that he's doing for Israel, do you really think they're supporting him? But the fake news media will make you think that. They will make you think that. Yes, it was one, or maybe two. But I think what's his name? From the alt-right, Richard Spencer, whatever his name is. I think that he took back his endorsement of Donald Trump. And the only person that I know of that was a white supremacist or used to be, because he supposedly had changed some of his views, was David Duke. Those are the only two people that I know of that is part of the extreme right, I'll call it, that endorse Trump. They're the only ones that I know of. I do not see why spread support for Donald Trump, but the Democrats and the fake news media will make you believe that because they need you to believe that he is racist. And like I said before, if he is racist and the things he's done is better than anything that the Democrat who's supposed to be on your side, that's supposed to be your champion, had your life worse, in the worst condition than Trump has it is now. Trump has everything that I mentioned. I mentioned all the things about the unemployment, the rise in the wages for the lower income earners, the rise of black wealth after 8 years of falling under Barack Obama. How could you not support this man? because you're listening to the fake news media. People telling you he's racist. Take for another good example, his beef with the Squad. If anybody took the time to read his tweet, you would have thought that it was nothing at all racist about it. He was being sarcastic, telling them, being that basically he said, being that you know so much about fixing America, why don't you go back to the country that you came from, fix them, and come back and show us how it's done. That was sarcasm. Anybody with sense could tell that that was sarcasm. My goddaughter is only 1 year old, but if I ask Amaya what, well, she shouldn't be speaking at one, but she would still know that it's ridiculous. That's bullshit. She would know that. But these grown ass black people would believe it because the news told you it. The news said it. It got to be right. It got to be racist. You actually had a black woman stay on I forgot who it was, so I don't want to misquote the wrong person. So I'm just gonna I'm not gonna attribute it to nobody. But they had basically said that if you're a white person and a black person say something, you can't correct them unless you're a racist or you have to be a racist. That is crazy. Stupid ideas, stupid sayings, stupid statements has to be addressed, must be addressed. And this whole notion of of of, of, of silencing opposition is just another leftist ploy to control the masses. Everything that is everything that the left tries to hold dear, they demonize the opposition. You have to be some type of a bigot. You must be a bigot in some shape or form if you're against these things. You have to be. That's what the left wants you to believe. So you can't say you can't talk bad about Elon Omar unless you're Islamophobic. You have to be. You have to be according to the Democrat. If I say that Nancy Pelosi is corrupt, then I am sexist. I am using my I'm trying to silence and oppress the female genders. A female gender. It's so many different stupid things that I'm trying to think of, but you know what I'm talking about. It's so many dumb ways that they try to silence our speech, and it has to stop. And the only way it stops is we stop letting them. Stop playing their game. I will talk about anything that I fucking want to. And I don't care what they say. I don't care what they say. That is why I really came out on my Facebook page, because I was having it like separate and I didn't want to go with the Trump, letting people know that I was a Trump supporter and stuff because I didn't want the backlash and stuff like that. But now I don't really give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'm tired of being quiet and allowing shit to go on just because of worrying about backlash. Fuck the backlash. If you're stupid enough to believe the Democrats, that's your problem. But I'm not going to sit up there and be quiet about it no more. I'm not going to be quiet about it. I do hope that a lot of people wake up, and this is part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast and stuff like that, to wake up more people. But at the same time, I don't care if no one listens. I don't care if no one listens to anything that I say. I'm going to keep on saying it though. You have to stop being controlled. At some point in your life, you have to stop being controlled and think for yourself. Everything that I say, things that I believe, I could be wrong. That's why discussion is important. Debate is important. Overlooking shit because it makes you uncomfortable or you was raised to believe a certain thing is not an excuse not to think for yourself. It's not an excuse not to have the discussion Listen, and having the discussion also means opening your ears to it, being receptive to the information that you're receiving. It may, it may. I'm not even gonna say it may, because I know it do. Sometimes it really upsets you. Because the things I say about Barack Obama now, I remember a time when I got angry. Everyone that I thought would say had to be a racist if you would say something bad about Barack Obama until I researched him, researched the shit that people were saying about him, and found out for myself that he was a piece of shit. It did not make me feel good to turn on a Barack Obama. It did not make me feel good. It wasn't something that I thought I would do. I defended him against a lot of people. I stopped listening to people because of the fact that they were talking about Barack Obama. And then I got to the point where the only way that I felt that I could successfully debunk the thing that was said about Barack Obama, I had to finally listen to the shit that they were saying. Not dismissing it because, as soon as they start, when you don't want to believe something, you will ignore it. Straight facts you will ignore. You will call facts lies just because it changes your view and you don't want to. People want to hold fast to their views, and that's the problem. So when I finally let go and I listened to the information, I realized that they were right. It was a lot of things. When people say things about police brutality, it was because of the police deaths. When I talk about not brutality, but police killing of blacks. Of course, because I'm like seeing all the news. I saw all the news things, all the news, all the people that's dying. You see them one after the other. It seemed like clockwork, and that's all you saw. So you believe that that's true, and you hear it over and over again. They repeat it on the news like it's a fact. But did you ever look at the number of deaths in a year? Do anybody ever do that? No. You listen to them because the news says, oh, you got if you're black, you got about a 50% chance to die by a cop. Oh, they're killing blacks at an alarming rate. And you believe this stuff because the news is saying it and stuff like that until you research. When you realize that in any given year, and I keep saying this and I'll keep repeating this until people get it into the fucking head, in the last year since Jim Crow, anytime since the Jim Crow era, Jim Crow ended, till now, you cannot find 1 year that more black people were killed by cops than white people. Not 1 year. You have to go all the way back to the Jim Crow era, where they was killing niggas for fun, to find a year where whites weren't killed more by blacks. I mean, whites weren't killed more. Whites always are. They are they are the one that should be having it. It should be white mothers being out there talking about protecting their child and stuff. But nobody cares about white people. That doesn't make a story. You kill a nigga, now we got a story. Why is the story? Because it's not like they didn't care about niggas. Don't get it twisted. They don't give a fuck about you. They like the attention that your murder gives because it incites us. We get angry. We'll talk shit. Right now, do you know that the most shared thing on there, besides even joke, you would think that funny shit. No, police brutality videos is the number one thing shared on social media. People make pages and stuff to come up with just police brutality video, police shooting videos, sharing them because we're emotional people. We are emotional people, and when you see a black person getting killed by cops, especially the way we've been indoctrinated, you take that to heart. It gets you angry, and when you're angry, you don't think straight. You think emotionally, and that's why the Democrats are good at manipulating those feelings. Do you think it's a coincidence that every election cycle racism comes up, and once the election season is over, racism goes away? That's crazy. When it's supposed to be so uh, abundant. Racism is all around, but it only seems to come up on election season. It only becomes part of the uh, social cycle when it's around that time of election time, and you don't see nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with the fact that people call Republican racist, but if you ask them what did the Republicans do that's racist, they can't tell you. Or they'll say the line that they're coming to take your check, and that's why I shared the other day about Joe Biden saying that they're going to come, that he's going to cut Social Security, that he had to cut Social Security or fix Social Security, whichever way you want to say it, but you know what they mean. Republicans, all the things that people ever hear about Republicans came from Democrats. I can berate the Democrats with their own words. Their own words, their own policies. People can't do that with Republicans. Republicans the only thing only speak about Republicans with hyperboles. They're the most racist ever. They're xenophobic. They're only the things that you say about them. None of it comes from based on a legitimate thing that the Republicans said or did. It's always about what others say about them. And you do this year after year. You think that the Republicans only care about the rich. The Democrats get supported by the rich. Do you get that? But you demonizing the Republican for something that the Democrats do in large numbers and get away with it. A lot of shit that you don't have, the way your life is because the Democrats are bought and paid for by corporations that say no, don't give that to them. That's why Cory Booker voted against the lower prescription drug course, that bill. That's why he claimed it was because of regulation, but you know what I mean. Cory Booker is from New Jersey. New Jersey has some of the largest, the most largest, and the largest drug companies are in New Jersey, and support the Democrats. Supported Cory Booker. It was only until he became president that was started running for president, and now I bet you too, you'll see that he'll take those he'll start taking that corporate money again now that he stopped running. But it was only because he started running that he said, you know what, because it's going to come up, because he already knew it was coming up. They was making memes for him before he even started running. They were making memes about him when it was thought that he was going to run. But I've been rambling for too long. I just had to rant about this stuff because it was a lot of things that was on my mind, and I kept on getting pissed off when I kept on hearing about the lack of diversity, the lack of diversity, the lack of diversity, the lack of diversity. And this is coming from the Democrats who don't care about diversity. They care about manipulating through their diversity, using their diversity to manipulate us. That's what the Democrats do. That's the only thing they care about. Power, manipulating us to maintain and gain power. That is the Democrats' motto. Democrats suck. Trump 2020. No blue will do. Thank you.